Hi, I'm Melissa McGlinchey, branch manager with ACM Home Loans. I wanted to discuss what type of documentation can you expect as a non-U.S. resident when you're going through the mortgage process. First and foremost, it's that application. So we definitely need an application from you so that we can see your entire portfolio and get to know everything about you. After reviewing that application with you, that's going to allow us to know what type of documentation we're going to need to request from you. Basic types of documentation, not necessarily proving what you make for income, but there are programs for that, okay? But we'll need to get backup documentation for where do you work? Are you employed by a company or do you own the company? If you own the company, then we require documentation and proof that you own the company and your percentage of ownership. Many times when it comes to income or employment, that type of documentation can be handled by an accountant. So definitely a good idea to have an accountant handy if you don't already. So your accountant can provide us that documentation because it's coming from a third party. Also, in addition to that, we are going to require documentation for proving you have enough money. You have sufficient financial means to make the purchase transaction. So what does that mean as far as proving you have enough financial means? It's a lot more sometimes intense than many people realize for being overseas. And we ask the same information and documentation for non-U.S. residents that we do for U.S. residents. So it's really, when it comes to documentation for finances, that part is not any different. When I say it can get pretty intense, that means we normally go back 60 days. So let's just say you provide us a bank statement to show how much money you currently have in a specific bank account. We're going to ask you to go back 60 days and show us 60 days of activity in that bank statement. What we're looking for, any large transactions. We're looking for money laundering issues. So we're going to look at any large deposits that come in, and we have to prove where that money comes from when it comes to large deposits. Again, we just have to follow the U.S. laws for any money laundering issues. So you can definitely expect a lot of documentation when it comes to sourcing and tracking money that goes in and out of your bank accounts. Once you give a deposit down on a property, we're going to ask you to prove where did that deposit come from, and we're going to go back 60 days as well. If you wire money over here to the U.S. from overseas, we're just going to have you provide us that backup documentation. If your country requires a visa, we are going to request a visa from you. We're definitely going to always request a copy of a passport, but there's many countries where they're visa exempt countries. If it is a visa exempt countries, we don't require the visa, always require the passport from you. Those are your main pieces of documentation to expect. Employment, possibly income, depending upon your program. Definitely financial documentation on proving that you have sufficient funds. And then also a copy of your ID. And that goes along with the U.S. Patriot Act documentation that we require for that. We'd love to assist you with your financing needs. And of course, you can always email us, call us for any questions. And you can find all of our information off the website of www.acmhomeloans.com.